I remember the night like it was carved into my chest. The house was quiet, too quiet, and I was sitting in the living room scrolling through some emails on Lydia's laptop. She had left it open, probably thinking nothing of it. I wasn't snooping, not really. I was just looking for a receipt I needed for our taxes. But one folder, hidden deep in her documents, caught my eye. The name of it was simple: Plan. Curiosity got the better of me. I clicked. What I found didn't just surprise me, it broke me. Inside were messages, letters, and even drafts of legal papers. My name was everywhere. Divorce papers already prepared. Notes about my bank accounts. Even lists of property that I had worked hard for, written down like items on a grocery list. But the part that made my hands shake, the part that made me feel like the ground had disappeared from under me, were the messages between Lydia and her father. They weren't just talking about leaving me, they were planning how to destroy me. Her father's words were sharp. We have to make him look weak. He won't stand a chance in court if we set this up right. And Lydia's replies were even colder. Don't worry, Daddy. He trusts me too much. He'll never see it coming. I read those words again and again, hoping I had misunderstood. My wife, the woman I had loved, protected, and given everything to, writing about me like I was nothing more than a problem to be erased. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe. Questions filled my head. Why? What had I done to deserve this? How long had they been plotting? Was my whole marriage just a performance to her? I scrolled further down, and the more I read, the worse it got. They talked about moving money without me noticing. They talked about using stories to make me look like a careless husband. Her father even wrote about calling in favors from his wealthy friends to make sure the court believed their side. My vision blurred. My hands trembled so much the laptop nearly slipped. I felt sick, betrayed, stripped of everything I thought was safe. The person who was supposed to stand beside me, the family I thought I had married into, they were sharpening knives behind my back. I closed the laptop slowly, like it might explode in my hand. My heart was racing, my mind spinning. Every smile Lydia had given me, every soft word she had spoken, suddenly felt poisoned. I could hear her footsteps upstairs, moving calmly in our bedroom, as if nothing in the world was wrong. But I knew the truth now, and I sat there in the dim light of the living room, broken and confused, wondering one thing that I couldn't answer. Why would my wife and her father betray me like this? Would you like me to keep Ethan frozen in this discovery for now, ending section 1 with this open wound? Or do you want me to add a tiny push into what he might do next, so it flows more sharply into section 2? My name is Ethan, and for most of my life, I believed in hard work and honesty. I wasn't born into wealth or influence. My parents raised me to value integrity, to build a life with my own hands. I worked long hours, sometimes 2 jobs, just to put myself through school. I dreamed of one day running my own small business, a place where I could provide not only for myself, but also for the family I hoped to build. When I met Lydia, I thought my prayers had been answered. She was beautiful in a way that made rooms turn silent. She carried herself with elegance, her smile lighting up everything around her. But it wasn't just her looks that drew me in. It was the way she spoke, the way she listened, the way she made me believe I was special. For the first time, I felt seen. From the beginning, though, there was a shadow in the form of her father, Mr. Donovan. A wealthy man, sharp and commanding, with the kind of presence that made you feel small without him saying a word. He never truly hid how he felt about me. I was a good man, but not enough. I wasn't from his world. I didn't have the right background, the right connections, the right money. But Lydia, she defended me. At least, that's what I thought back then. She said she loved me, that her father's opinions didn't matter, and that together, we could build our own world. So I trusted her. I gave her my heart. We married, and I poured myself into making our life stable. I worked longer hours, skipped nights out with friends, saved every penny I could. I even gave up opportunities for myself so Lydia could pursue her dream. She wanted to start her own boutique, and I helped fund it. She wanted to travel, and I made it happen, even if it meant I stayed behind working overtime. Each sacrifice felt worth it because I believed in us. But looking back now, I see the cracks that I ignored. Lydia had a way of making me feel guilty whenever I questioned things. If I asked about her spending, she would smile sweetly and say, "Don't you trust me?" If I mentioned how her father's constant interference bothered me, she would tilt her head and whisper, "Ethan, you're overthinking. Daddy just cares about me." And I believed her because I wanted to believe. There were times I noticed her father's voice echoing through our decision. Like when we bought our first house. Mr. Donovan insisted on being involved, even though I was the one paying the mortgage. Or when Lydia convinced me to invest money into a project her father recommended, even though I wasn't comfortable. When I hesitated, Lydia's words cut sharp but gentle. "Ethan, don't you want my father to respect you? This is your chance." And so, against my better judgment, I went along. Her father had a way of making me feel like an outsider in my own marriage. At family dinners, he would ask about my earnings in front of everyone, then chuckle when the numbers didn't impress him. Lydia would laugh lightly, brushing it off as a joke, but inside, I felt humiliated. Still, I told myself it was worth it. Lydia loved me. That's what I repeated over and over. I remember one night, after a long shift, I came home to find her waiting with candles lit. She kissed me, thanked me for working so hard, told me I was her rock. Moments like that melted away all my doubts. She knew how to say just enough to pull me back in, to remind me why I stayed. But now, after seeing those messages on her laptop, every one of those memories feels twisted. The sacrifices I made, the hours I worked, the dreams I put aside, it all feels like fuel for their plan. Every time she told me, trust me, what she really meant was, don't look too closely. And her father, the man who never believed I was good enough, was right there beside her, shaping everything. Looking back, I see it all clearly. The manipulation wasn't sudden. It was quiet, slow, woven into the fabric of our marriage until I couldn't tell where Lydia ended and her father began. And that's what makes the betrayal cut even deeper. Because I didn't just lose. The night I opened that folder on Lydia's laptop was the beginning of the end. At first, I thought it was just those cold messages between her and her father. That was enough to break me, but as I dug deeper, I found more. Documents, drafts, legal filings already prepared with my name on them, divorce petitions with details about assets I didn't even know she had been keeping track of. Every car, every bank account, every piece of property I had worked hard for, it was all written down like it belonged to her. There were even false claims tucked inside those drafts. Notes saying I had been neglectful, that I wasn't a supportive husband, that I was irresponsible with money. Lies that painted me as a careless man. And next to them were instructions, typed in red, likely from her father. This angle will make the court sympathetic. Push this narrative. My head spun. I couldn't believe what I was reading. It was as if Lydia had been rehearsing a play, preparing a story where I was the villain and she was the victim. And her father was the director, guiding every line. I clicked on another folder and saw spreadsheets of financial transactions. Money I had transferred into our joint account over the years. Money I thought was being saved for our future had been moved quietly into an account under her name alone. There were withdrawals, investments I never approved, payments I didn't recognize. Some of it was even under her father's name. My hard-earned savings, my sacrifices, slipping through my fingers without me even noticing. And then came the final blow. An email draft Lydia had written to one of her close friends, but never sent. The words were cruel. He's too trusting. Daddy was right. Once this is over, I'll finally be free. I just need to play the loving wife a little longer. I stared at that sentence until the letters blurred. Play the loving wife. All those nights she kissed me when I came home late. All the times she said she believed in me. All the mornings she smiled across the breakfast table. They weren't real. They were part of her performance. The weight of it crushed me. I felt like my chest was caving in, like I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream, to throw the laptop across the room, but I couldn't move. My world had tilted, and I was frozen in the middle of it. Questions flooded my head. How long had this been going on? Was our marriage ever real? Did Lydia ever love me at all? Or was I just a project, a stepping stone her father had planned to use and discard? I closed the laptop and sat there in silence, my hands shaking. The betrayal wasn't just about love anymore. It was bigger than that. This wasn't only Lydia turning her back on me. This was them building a trap, carefully, piece by piece, to take everything I had built and leave me with nothing. I thought about the people who looked up to me, my friends, my coworkers, even the small community I had built through my business. If Lydia and her father spread these lies, my reputation would be destroyed. People would believe her because she had charm, and her father had money and influence. Who would stand by me? Who would believe me over them? My stomach turned as I realized the choice that stood in front of me. I could stay quiet, pretend I didn't know, and let them take everything when the time came. Or I could fight. But fighting meant risking everything, risking more betrayal, more humiliation, more pain. I sat there in the dim light of my living room, staring at the dark screen of the laptop, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. My life wasn't safe anymore. My marriage wasn't real anymore. Nothing I thought I could trust was solid. For the first time in my life, I wasn't sure who I was or what I should do. All I knew was that if I didn't make a choice soon, they would crush me completely. The days after my discovery were some of the darkest of my life. At first, I didn't confront Lydia. I wanted to, but I was too shocked, too broken. I kept replaying those messages and documents in my head, wondering if maybe I had misunderstood. Maybe there was another explanation. But when I looked at Lydia, the woman I had shared my life with, I no longer saw a partner. I saw a stranger. She must have sensed the change in me. I wasn't as open, I wasn't as quick to smile. And instead of asking what was wrong, she grew colder. She started coming home later, offering vague excuses. Her words became sharp, her tone distant. When I tried to hold her hand or touch her shoulder, she would pull away like my presence annoyed her. "Ethan, you're overthinking again," she said one evening when I asked why she had been gone so long. Her eyes didn't meet mine. "Not everything is about you." That sentence cut me deeply. Not everything is about you. I had spent years making everything about her dreams, her comfort, her happiness. And now I was the problem? It didn't stop there. She started criticizing me in ways she never had before. The clothes I wore, the way I spoke, even the way I laughed. Small things, but each word chipped away at me. And whenever I tried to defend myself, she would roll her eyes or sigh as if I were being dramatic. And then there was her father, Mr. Donovan. He had always been controlling, but now he became bold, almost aggressive. He showed up at our house uninvited more than once, standing tall in his expensive suits, looking at me like I was dirt. "Ethan," he said one night, his voice low and calm but filled with threat, "you should start thinking about what you can actually handle. Lydia deserves better than constant struggle. Maybe it's time you face that truth." I wanted to yell at him, to throw him out of my home, but his confidence, his wealth, his power, it pressed down on me. I felt small, voiceless. Soon, whispers started. Friends I had known for years began acting different. One colleague avoided me at work, and when I pressed, he admitted that Lydia had spoken to his wife, telling her I was becoming unstable, that I was under pressure and not the man she thought I was. The rumor spread quietly but quickly. People looked at me with pity in their eyes, as if they knew something I didn't. It crushed me. My name, my reputation, it was slipping away. And Lydia was still smiling in public, playing the role of the perfect wife, while at home she treated me like I was invisible. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Nights turned into hours of staring at the ceiling, wondering how my life had unraveled so quickly. I started losing weight. My work suffered. I made mistakes I never used to make. Even my boss pulled me aside one afternoon. "Ethan," he said gently, "whatever's going on at home, don't let it destroy you here. You're better than this." I nodded, but inside I felt hollow. Still, there were moments when I tried to fight. Little victories. One evening, Lydia accused me of forgetting to pay a bill. She raised her voice, saying I was careless, that she couldn't rely on me. I quietly pulled out the receipt from my wallet and placed it on the table. "It's already paid," I said. For a moment, she faltered. Her face tightened. She had been caught. But instead of apologizing, she turned it around. "Why are you keeping receipts like you're preparing for war, Ethan? Who does that? You're becoming paranoid." She walked away, leaving me standing there with proof in my hand that somehow made me feel guilty. Another time, I overheard Mr. Donovan on the phone bragging about how everything was set and how I wouldn't know what hit me. I recorded a small part of the call, thinking it could help me one day. It felt like a tiny step forward, a bit of control in a storm I couldn't escape. But when I later tried to play it for Lydia, hoping she'd see how manipulative her father was, she only laughed. "You're really recording my dad now? Do you know how insane that sounds?" Her eyes were cold, her voice sharp. "You're embarrassing yourself." Her dismissal stung more than I could bear. The pressure was constant, unrelenting. Some days I thought I could endure it, and other days I thought I would break completely. I stopped calling friends. I stopped answering messages. The people I once leaned on now felt distant, either because they believed Lydia's quiet lies or because I was too ashamed to tell them the truth. There were nights when I sat alone in my car, parked outside my own house, unable to go inside. I would grip the steering wheel until my hands hurt, whispering to myself, "You're not crazy. You know what you saw." But even as I said the words, doubt crept in. Was I imagining it? Was I truly losing my mind? Every small victory I had, every moment I proved I wasn't what they said, I was met with something bigger, stronger, colder. Lydia and her father always seemed 2 steps ahead, closing every door before I could walk through it. I felt trapped in a cage built of lies and betrayal, a cage I hadn't even seen being constructed until it was too late. And in that darkness, I started to wonder if there was even a way out, or if this was how my story would end. It finally reached the point where I couldn't stay silent anymore. Weeks of sleepless nights, of watching Lydia treat me like I was a stranger in my own home, of enduring her father's smirks and threats. It broke something inside me. One evening, Lydia came home late again. She smelled of perfume that wasn't hers, and when I asked where she had been, she brushed past me like I didn't exist. That was it. "Lydia," I said, my voice shaking. I know everything. The files, the messages, the money you've been moving, the divorce papers. I've seen it all." She froze in the hallway, her back to me. For a moment, the silence was so heavy I thought she might deny it. But then she turned slowly, her face calm, almost bored. "So," she said softly, like my words meant nothing. "And what are you going to do about it?" Her tone cut me deeper than the betrayal itself. She didn't even try to lie anymore. She knew she had me cornered. I couldn't hold back the anger that had been building inside me. How could you do this? I gave you everything, Lydia. I sacrificed for you. I trusted you. And you, my voice cracked. You and your father planned to destroy me. She tilted her head, her lips curling into a small, cold smile. Don't be so dramatic, Ethan. You were useful, but you were never going to be enough. Before I could answer, the front door opened, and in walked Mr. Donovan. He looked between us with that same smug expression he always carried. Ah, he said calmly, setting his briefcase on the table. I see the little secret is out. My hands clenched into fists. You think you can ruin me, take everything I've worked for, and I'll just let it happen? Mr. Donovan chuckled, a sound that made my skin crawl. Ethan, you've always been naive. Do you really think this is just about divorce? You were part of something much bigger, and you never even realized. I frowned, confusion mixing with rage. What are you talking about? He leaned back against the wall, his arms crossed. You thought you were building a life, but what you were really doing was cleaning up after me. His eyes gleamed with pride. Those investments Lydia convinced you to make? That money you worked so hard for? It went into covering my mistakes. Business deals that would have collapsed, debts that would have ruined me. You were the perfect shield, hardworking, trusting, desperate to prove yourself. My stomach dropped. The boutique, the investments, the endless hours I worked to support Lydia's dreams. They weren't dreams at all. They were lies, carefully crafted to funnel my money into her father's failing empire. Lydia stepped closer to him, standing proudly at his side. Daddy needed someone steady, someone foolish enough to take the blame if things went wrong. And you, Ethan, her eyes locked onto mine with icy certainty. You were perfect. The room spun. My marriage, my sacrifices, my love, it had all been part of their scheme. I wasn't just a husband they wanted to leave. I was a cover, a tool, a scapegoat. I felt the blood drain from my face. So all these years, every smile, every kiss, it was all fake? Lydia didn't flinch. Not all of it. At the beginning, maybe I cared a little. But love doesn't pay bills, Ethan. Love doesn't fix reputations. You were stable, reliable, and exactly what we needed. Her words hit harder than any physical blow. My knees felt weak, and I had to grip the edge of the table to stay standing. Mr. Donovan stepped forward, lowering his voice. Listen carefully. If you play along, if you let this end quietly, you'll walk away with some dignity. But if you fight, everything will come crashing down on you. The lies, the rumors, they'll destroy you. And no one will side with you over us. The threat was clear. They had power, money, and influence. And I was just one man with nothing but my word. Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. You used me, I whispered, my voice breaking. You ruined me. Lydia crossed her arms. Don't be so weak. We didn't ruin you. You ruined yourself by thinking love was enough. In that moment, I felt like the ground beneath me gave way. Everything I had believed in, everything I had built was gone. My marriage wasn't a marriage. My wife wasn't my partner. Her father wasn't just disapproving. He was a predator who had been feeding off me the entire time. It was the lowest point of my life. Standing in that room, facing the two people I had trusted most, I realized I had nothing left. No love, no reputation, no security. And as they stood together, united against me, I felt the crushing weight of complete defeat. Add into the rest? For days after that confrontation, I moved through life like a ghost. My body went to work, but my mind was somewhere else. I could still hear Lydia's words in my ears. You were perfect. You were useful. I could still see her father's smirk, the way he dismissed me like I was nothing. At first, I thought they had broken me for good. But then something changed. One night, sitting alone in my car, I realized that as powerless as I felt, I still had the truth. I still had the laptop. I still had the recordings. I still had receipts and emails. I wasn't completely helpless. They had been so confident, so arrogant, that they left a trail behind them. Slowly, I began to gather everything. I saved every file, every bank record, every transfer that looked suspicious. I printed out the fake claims they had written for court, the lies that were meant to ruin me. I even kept that cruel email Lydia had written to her friend, the one where she admitted she was only playing the role of a loving wife. Piece by piece, I built my own case. It wasn't easy. I doubted myself 100 times. But with every document I collected, with every small piece of evidence I held in my hands, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: strength. When Lydia finally served me the official divorce papers, I was ready. Her lawyer came with confidence, already smiling like the battle was won. But the moment my lawyer placed my pile of evidence on the table, that smile faltered. The room grew quiet as we laid out proof of financial manipulation, proof of money being funneled into Mr. Donovan's businesses, proof of lies written in advance to frame me. Lydia's face turned pale. Her father's jaw tightened. For once, they didn't have control. It didn't stop there. I went further. I took what I had to the authorities. Investigations began. Questions were asked about Mr. Donovan's businesses, about the money he had moved under my name, about the debts he had tried to hide. For a man who thrived on power and reputation, the whispers of fraud were more damaging than anything I could have done with my own hands. Lydia tried to reach out then. She sent me messages, pretending to be soft again. "Ethan, we can fix this. Don't ruin both our lives." But the words no longer worked on me. I had seen her true face, and for the first time, I didn't feel weak when I said no. I didn't win millions. I didn't suddenly become powerful. But I walked away with something far greater, my dignity. The court saw through their lies. The assets they tried to take from me didn't all disappear. And even though Lydia and her father faced consequences for what they had done, the victory I felt wasn't in their downfall. It was in my freedom. For so long, I had lived under the shadow of their manipulation, doubting myself, questioning my worth. Now I was standing on my own 2 feet again. The chains they had wrapped around me, guilt, fear, shame, they were broken. I wasn't the same man anymore. I was scarred, yes, but I was also stronger, sharper, more awake to the truth of people's hearts. When I finally signed the papers that ended my marriage, I didn't feel broken. I felt whole again. And as I walked out of that courtroom, I realized something. They had tried to destroy me, but in the end, I never imagined my life would turn out this way. When I married Lydia, I thought I was building a forever. I thought love, sacrifice, and trust were enough. But I learned that not everyone values those things the same way. Some people see love as weakness and trust as a tool to be. The pain they caused me cut deeper than I thought I could survive. Nights of doubt, days of humiliation, moments when I questioned if I was losing my mind. Betrayal is not just about someone turning against you. It's about losing the version of yourself that believed in them. And that loss hurts more than words can explain. But somehow, out of that pain, I found something I didn't know I had. Strength. A voice. The courage to stand up, even when I was shaking inside. I realized that even if others try to strip away your dignity, they can't take it unless you give it up. Walking away from Lydia and her father wasn't just the end of a marriage, it was the beginning of me. The beginning of a man who knows his worth, who will never again let someone else decide his value. If there is one lesson my story carries, it's this: betrayal can break you, but it can also build you. It can teach you to see through lies, to trust yourself, to rise when others want you crushed. Yes, I lost love. Yes, I lost years I can never get back. But I gained something even more powerful. I gained myself. And now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see a broken man anymore. I see a survivor. I see someone who walked through fire and came out stronger. That is my victory. Hey besties, thanks so much for watching till the end. Ethan's story showed us how betrayal can break a heart, but also build true strength. If you enjoyed this emotional journey, don't forget to like, share, drop a comment, and of course, subscribe for more stories like this. Stay strong, protect your peace, and always know your worth. See you in the next one. Bye!